Hello and I welcome you all to JNF. I'm your host Vikrant. We're covering four topics in this video. First, Iran has announced massive drills in the Strait of Hormuz, humiliating the US Navy. US is now begging Iranians to show professionalism and to not threaten the American warships. This is the story of the day. Then Taco Trump has been caught lying again. He claimed India will start buying oil from Venezuela, but instantly embarrassed himself. Then I have an explosive story to break on NATO's plans to set up a war bank by the end of the next year. And in the end, I'll take you inside Russia's SJ-100 superjet, which has just arrived in India. Let's start. After weeks of offensive posturing against Iran, Taco Trump appears to have realized that his bluff was not scaring Iranians. The shouting was loud, dramatic, but Iran did not flinch, not even a blink. And that is when things started getting awkward for Washington. This became evident after the US military literally begged Iran to show professionalism while conducting naval drills close to American warships. Yes, begged. The world's most powerful military is asking for good behavior like a nervous school teacher. And the way Iran responded to the latest American plea is even more interesting. I'll take you through this amusing development and its possible impact in the region. Remember how Trump has long threatened Iran with military strikes and projected his country's military as the best and the most powerful in the world, right? Every speech sounded like a movie trailer. Explosions, missiles, boom. Yesterday, Trump even claimed that Iran had agreed for talks, and he implied that the Islamic Republic had surrendered to his threats. A victory declared, chest out, like this. Cameras rolling. But what happened yesterday will conclusively prove that the guy was once again lying. Trump bizarrely claimed he stopped 837 people from being hanged, threatened severe consequences, and said Iran pulled back because of him. No proof, no logic. When asked if Iran doesn't make a deal, would he replicate Venezuela-style actions, Trump refused to clarify, repeating that he would not talk about military plans. He once again bragged that the US has the most powerful military, fleet, ships, and the troops by far in the world. Iran did not listen to a single word that came out of Taco Trump's mouth. Far from paying attention to Trump's useless statements, Iran yesterday announced a 2-day naval drill in the Strait of Hormuz, with live munitions being fired. The drill is set to be held in very close proximity to the American warships, the great flotilla that Trump has dispatched. This announcement made one thing very clear. Iran is not scared, my friends, not scared of the US as implied by Trump. The news sent shockwaves through the US military in the Middle East or West Asia. The possibility of Iranian naval vessels firing live munitions so close to American warships caused serious ripples. They thought Trump's offensive posturing had left Iran scared. Instead, the Iranian military is now literally daring the US armed forces. The prospect of Iranian naval forces staring down the American warships from such close quarters was something the US military clearly did not expect. Panic followed. Americans were forced to make a desperate plea to Iran, requesting that the naval drill be conducted responsibly and professionally. US Central Command issued an urgent statement urging the IRGC, the Revolutionary Guards, to conduct the exercise safely and avoid risks to freedom of navigation. The CENTCOM emphasized that the Strait of Hormuz is an international sea passage and an essential trade corridor used daily by hundreds of merchant vessels. CENTCOM acknowledged Iran's right to operate professionally in international waters, but warned against unsafe behavior near American forces. They claimed they would not tolerate dangerous actions such as low altitude overflights, weapons targeting American forces, or high speed approaches towards the American ships. Now, Iran's foreign minister Sayyid Abbas Araghchi responded in a way that humiliated Taco Trump even further and his forces in West Asia. Sharing a world map on X, he pointed out that the US is several oceans away while Iran is operating in its own neighborhood. He mocked the American military for trying to dictate how Iran should conduct target practice on its own turf. He also highlighted the absurdity of asking for professionalism from a force that the US itself has labeled a terror outfit, all while simultaneously saying that, oh yes, Iranian forces have a right to operate in their waters. I mean, this doesn't add up. If US thinks that Iranian forces are terrorists, how can it acknowledge their right for safe operation, and how can America ask them for showing professionalism? I mean, this is beyond me. Araghchi stated that the IRGC has always been protector of peace and stability in the Persian Gulf and Strait of Hormuz. He emphasized that freedom of navigation is as important to Iran as it is to its neighbors. And he also blamed outside forces for causing escalation. So this is everything about Iran crisis in this video. Moving on, let's stick to Trump's favorite hobby, creative storytelling. On Saturday, Trump declared that India has already made a deal to buy oil from Venezuela and will stop buying oil from Iran.
I don't know anything about that, but I'll tell you what, China is welcome to come in and would make a great deal in oil. We welcome China. We've already made a deal. India is coming in and they're going to be buying Venezuelan oil as opposed to buying it from Iran. So we've already made that deal, the concept of the deal. But China is welcome to come in and buy oil.
Trump claimed that deal is done. The only small problem is that India hasn't said a single word about it. Not one line. There is total silence in New Delhi. Trump also said India will replace Iranian oil with Venezuela oil. Now here comes the fun part, my friends. Guess how much Iranian oil India imports right now? Nearly zero. Yes, zero with a capital Z. India stopped loading oil from Iran back in 2019 because of American sanctions linked to Tehran's nuclear program. That chapter ended years ago. But even after stopping oil imports, India kept working on Iran's Chabahar port. So India's cooperation with Iran is still going on in some sectors. After Iran, India tried buying oil from US for some time, but it was too expensive and it did not make sense for India. Then came the Ukraine crisis and India shifted to Russian oil. So when Trump talks about India stopping Iranian oil, one has to ask, stopping what exactly? Honestly, no one knows what Trump is talking about. Most likely, this is just another pressure tactic or maybe just another tall tale. Moving on, in this segment, I want to highlight two reports that together scream one simple message. NATO is not preparing for peace. NATO is preparing for a new war. We're talking about the next 3 to 4 years. And let's start with the first report. The title is I think on your screen now. NATO creating bank to prepare for war with Russia. Yes, a bank, a war bank. Can you believe it? This is their priority. The report says a group of NATO countries is working to set up a brand new bank by the end of next year. The purpose is very clear: to fund military spending and prepare for a potential conflict with Russia. This was reported by Izvestia. This is a Russian newspaper. And the bank already has a name that sounds like it came straight out of a military boardroom. The name is Defense Security and Resilience Bank, or DSRB. Now, here is where it gets interesting. Western officials and Western media keep telling us that, oh, Russia might attack NATO in a few years. NATO's chief profit officer, Mark Rutte, has even designated Russia as an enemy. Moscow, on the other hand, has dismissed these claims as nonsense. Even Putin has clarified so many times that he doesn't have any plan to attack any EU or NATO country. Anyway, this DSRV is not some symbolic office with a logo and coffee mugs. It is designed to help countries reach the 5% military spending threshold. And here is the clever trick. Paid in capital would count toward the target, private funding would be used, landing would be used, bonds would be issued. In simple English, NATO has found a financial shortcut to pump more money into weapons without openly breaking national budget limits. Now, this report says, and also the DSRB website says, that this framework would allow some national budget limits to be sidestepped and would make the defense sector more attractive for private investors. Translation in simple language: war is now an investment opportunity. Missiles with dividends, tanks with interest rates. This is the future NATO is looking at. I mean, seriously. The project is reportedly being led by, no surprises, British officials, and the fundraising target is not pocket change, up to $135 billion. Ottawa and Toronto are being considered as possible headquarters for this bank, because nothing says global peace like a war bank with a Canadian postal code. So let me ask this simple question: where will this money come from? Well, NATO already answered that question last year. Mark Rutte said there are three ways to raise money for new wars. Let's take a look.
Increase defense spending, you will come to the political question where to get it from. And then it's up to the politicians and the national consensus how to do this. And there are generally three areas. You can increase taxation, you can increase the debt, or you can try to find savings elsewhere. But this is up to national politicians, not up to me. I only need to make sure that collectively we have what we need to prevent us from taking out the Russian language courses.
So, dear Europeans, well done. You are officially the ATM for the next war. Higher taxes, more debt, fewer social benefits, because NATO is drilling a giant oil well directly into your pockets. Now let's move to the second report, and the title is NATO advises Northern Europe to start developing offensive information operations. This report says NATO has ordered Denmark, Estonia, Finland, Iceland, Latvia, Lithuania, Norway, and Sweden to initiate offensive information actions against Russia. NATO has asked these countries to develop their information warfare capabilities, assign responsibilities, and regularly conduct joint exercises. Just imagine that. Offensive information actions, not defensive, not reactive, offensive. Let's zoom out now. NATO is creating a war bank. NATO is telling countries bordering Russia to start offensive information warfare. NATO is running exercises. NATO is raising money. NATO is building financial and psychological weapons at the same time. And yet, every day we are told the same story. Oh, Russia is the aggressor. Russia will attack NATO. Russia is the threat. Funny how the side allegedly under threat is the one building banks, issuing bonds, raising taxes, and planning offensive operations. This is preparation, my friends. Slow, bureaucratic, well-funded preparation wrapped in nice words like security and resilience. But underneath, it smells like war planning. It is war planning. NATO calls it defense, but defense usually doesn't start with offensive operations. and a $135 billion war bank. Defense doesn't come with financial tricks to bypass budget limits. Defense doesn't ask taxpayers to pay more while weapons manufacturers smile wider. Moving on, let's head to India now. India and Russia are officially moving ahead with the SJ-100 superjet program. India's state-backed aircraft maker HAL has joined hands with Russia's United Aircraft Corporation, or the UAC. Yes, the UAC, which has been sanctioned by the West. The partnership is logged in. The plan is simple: build SJ-100 superjets in India, build them big, build them fast. India needs planes, lots of them. Over 200 aircraft will be needed in the coming years just to improve domestic connectivity. Forget international connectivity. And the SJ-100 is being positioned as the answer. Before we move ahead, let me take you inside the SJ-100, which has already landed in Hyderabad. The aircraft has arrived, the program has arrived, and the message has arrived too. Phase, HAL will lease a few aircraft directly from the UAC, that is the warm-up lap. In the later phase, these aircraft will be manufactured in India itself. That is the main race. And by the end of the next year, HAL is expected to have leased around 10 to 15 SJ-100 aircraft. That tells you one thing very clearly: this is not paperwork, this is speed. Real speed. And yes, a shaky ride is expected, is guaranteed for Boeing and Airbus watching from the window seat. And that is all, my friends, in this episode. Thank you very much for joining. You're watching GNF.